emphasize enough that we are not frustrated and depressed. We are beyond that. So it's a new kind of liberalization for us. As you could hear, Eddie. You're, for the time being, you're depressed, frustrated, and then you do not expect anymore anything, and you're liberalized. And that's, I think, how we all feel, which is a great feeling, and we wouldn't have it without the EU, actually. So thank you very much for that. We went 360 degrees altogether in this. I have to say that, that brings, as Eddie said, some new things in the regional cooperation. I think we all continue doing what we need to do to continue with our European integration. But at the same time, I think we are placing increasingly more focus on regional cooperation, on the things that we can do together to increase the quality of life of all of our citizens. And that's good, that's fantastic, because those are the things that we can actually influence. And European integration, at the end of the day, whatever you do, it is really down to each and every EU member state to decide whether you will progress or not. And it's a complex and complicated process, and it gets more complex and more complicated by the day, as we have seen with North Macedonia, and I have to say that. It's no longer about the European values. It's no longer about the progress in the key area, and that's the rule of law. It's now also about the bilateral issues, and not even the bilateral issues as such, more issues of linguistics, history, interpretation of linguistics and history, and so on and so forth. So those are the things that you cannot even begin to influence. Serbia is, even in this IGC that we had, which was actually very positive, always reminded by some of the EU member states about the national minority rights. And that is actually fantastic because, in my view, human and minority rights are one of the key European values. But in terms of respecting the national minorities, Serbia is one of the leading countries in Europe, as stated by the Council of Europe, OSCE, European Parliament on many occasions, because we have different mechanisms in which we respect the national minority rights. The National Councils of National Minorities, the Republic Council of National Minorities, language that has to be respected. More than 15, some of our municipalities, local governments have more than 15 official languages because of the national minority rights. But then there is such a thing as going above the board in the EU. So there are EU member states that do not recognize some of the national minorities that you have in your country. And in Serbia, there is a clear law. If people feel like Vlachs or Bunjevci, you have to get them to have National Minority Council. But some of the EU member states do not recognize them. And so they're saying, until you sort this out, because they're not national minority, you cannot move forward in your European integration. So it becomes the game of giving too much of national minority rights. So you wonder, what is just right for the EU and individual EU member states? Sometimes you go above the board, I guess, in the implementation of European values. There are other things as well. There are EU member states that do not have the Institute of National Minorities. in their countries, they don't have national minorities. Everyone is of the nationality of that country. But they still have the right to tell you that you are not doing enough for the national minorities that you have, you recognize, and you respect. So again, those are different standards that I have to be very honest, are not clear to me. But to go back, that makes us work more and better together. And I was particularly proud today when I landed at the Ohrid airport, turned on my cell phone and received a message that there are no roaming charges. And not just for North Macedonia, but also for Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Albania. I participated in that, and no one can take that away from me and the people sitting here. That is the most tangible thing that we can do for our citizens. That is when they feel that we have actually accomplished something for them. And that is the value that Serbia is aspiring to. So I'm looking forward to continuing those kind of projects. Granted, there are obviously extremely important, very complex political issues that we still have to sort out. And I'm referring predominantly to Belgrade-Pristina dialogue. But there are so many other things that we can do for our citizens, leaving politics aside, because we owe this to our people, and we owe this to the future generations in this region in order for them actually to stay. If we don't do it, what you see here is probably the only people who will stay in the region and live and still quarrel. So we have to do something for people to stay in the region. Roaming agreement was one of those examples.